Hey there! I am at SUNY Purchase. I don't know if you can see, let's see if there's something I can show you behind me. The campus! I can't, you're not seeing anything, are you? Wait, I thought I was sitting at a place where there was going to be a good view of like, oh, there's a little something, right? That says college campus, doesn't it? So we're here to bring my boyfriend's son back to school for his sophomore year. Hey, Tess! And, it got me thinking about regrets because I was actually like, am I going to be jealous when I come down here to college campus? Because I applied to one college and I got in and then I couldn't stay there because my parents were going through a divorce and financially they were not able to pull it off and I did not know what I was doing. And so I didn't follow through on trying to find new financial aid. So I finished college, but I didn't do it in the college of my choice. And there's a lot of airplanes that fly over here at Purchase, so you're going to hear. Yeah, speaking of like, am I going to be jealous? No, I couldn't live with that. So it's interesting when you're here for the day. So here we are delivering my boyfriend's son to college. It has me thinking, am I going to be jealous to be on a college campus? Because I didn't get to do 4 years of college in the same place. And this is one of my life's biggest regrets, that I didn't find a way to finance my staying at this one college that I really wanted to go to. I applied only to Bard College in the Hudson Valley, and I got in, which felt like a miracle. I cried when I got in. And then my parents were going through a divorce, and I wasn't able to stay because of their money, but I did not take a stand for myself and I didn't figure it out. I just sort of gave into defeat. And we're going to talk about defeat as a key piece in regrets in a second. But the other main life regret that I have is I graduated from high school a year early and I moved to Italy. This was 1989. Yeah, baby, the 80s. And I was living in Rome, Italy, when the Berlin Wall came down. My father was from Czechoslovakia, and I had had a friend of his tell me, Maya, if you ever are in Prague, I will get you into film school. Now, that's all I wanted to do was direct movies. The Berlin Wall comes down, and I'm like 17, living in Rome. I'm like, I have to get to Prague. And everything conspired against me, and I just gave in to the defeat and was like, I guess I'm not going to Prague. Now, a really cool thing happened at the end of that year. I lived in Rome for not quite a year, and my dad came. He had not been back to Czechoslovakia in 25 years at that point. So he came to pick me up in Rome. We traveled through Europe, through northern Italy and Vienna, and we went to Czechoslovakia together. So we were back in Prague together for the first time it was my first time in Prague, and it was his first time returning after 25 years. So it was an epic, epic trip, okay? But this is another one of my major life regrets, that I didn't stand my ground and find a way to go to film school in Prague from Rome in 1989. And so as we were driving down here today, and I'm like, I'm 46 years old, right? And I'm like, what is this regret that I still have about not having stayed at Bard College and done 4 years there? What's this regret that I still have about not having insisted and found a way to go to film school in Prague from Rome back in 1989? So it got me thinking about regrets, right? So think about, what are some regrets that you have? Because I was like, how do I kill off this regret? Because it just feels, that feeling of like, ugh, I didn't do it, right? So can we kill off our regrets? This is the first question. And how do we stop creating more regret? Because wouldn't that just be something? Hey, Meg, wouldn't that be something if we could stop creating more regrets? Now, I have two things to say here. It's like a 3.5-hour drive from where we live to SUNY Purchase. And so we were talking about regrets, and my boyfriend was sharing his two major life regrets as well. And I'm just looking at the truck to make sure we're not getting ticketed for over parking. I realized this, and you can check in with yourself and see if your top life regrets have this in common. I think that part of what maybe the key thing that makes up a regret, because I didn't stay at college for 4 years in that one cool place I wanted to stay, and I didn't go to Prague to film school. because a lot of life obstacles got in my way. Finances, people were not in support of me. Like, nobody said, like, yes, Maya, go to Prague. They were like, no, don't do it, right? So look at the regrets you have and look at what created the regret. And for me, the key thing isn't that I didn't get it's partly that I didn't get to do the thing, but like I said, it is a very cool experience of going to Prague with my dad, right, at the end of that year. So I could look at it and say, ooh, maybe destiny pointed me towards this really cool experience that I got to have with my father. When he returned to Czechoslovakia for the first time, that was my first trip, and it was an epic father-daughter experience. I won't say bonding because it was very contentious, but it was really interesting, all right? But here's the thing. I got this major soul urge to go to Prague and to go to film school back then in 1989 when the Berlin Wall came down. I got this major urge to go to Bard College. Both of those felt like deep rooted soul urges. And urge, I love that because it's not just like a, hey, I kind of like to do that. It's like urgency is built into that word, right? It's like there's an urgency. You have this urge. It's like a push. Doesn't it have that vehemence to it, that force, the word? And I didn't follow through, and I didn't even try. I just let myself be defeated, you know, like steamrolled by life. I was just like, oh, well, right? And so it's not just that I didn't do those two things. It's that I just let it happen. And I did nothing to stand up for my soul urges. And that is fucked up. And that, I believe, and you can check in with yourself about your regrets, but I think that that's the recipe for a regret. You get a major soul urge full of this urgency, and then you don't follow through on it. Because, you know, they say, right, that when we're dying, that the things we regret are the things that we didn't do, not the things that we did do. So like you might go and do something and it's an epic failure. You fall on your face. You look like an idiot. It does not work out. You go broke, the whole thing, right? But because you did it on a soul level, you don't regret it. But it's those things, and you can tell me if you disagree, but I think that I, today, pondering this on the 3-hour drive down here, I think that I really hit on like what are regrets made up of. Soul urge with urgency that you don't follow through on, and you don't take a stand for yourself, and you just let yourself be defeated and you go back to despair or whatever your default setting is. Mine is always like, oh, what's the point anyway? And like that I'm just going to be defeated in life. So can we kill off our regrets? I don't know. I'm going to keep that conversation open. I know this. I always wanted children. I have no children. I'm 46 years old. I don't have kids, and I don't regret it. I also was pregnant twice and had 2 abortions. Now, I know you're supposed to regret your abortions. On the one hand, I regret that I put myself as a young woman through that. It was a lot of pain. It was really brutal. And there's like some energetic second chakra feeling of scarring that I feel when I think about those 2 abortions. But when I check in with my heart and my soul, if I regret having not had those babies, I don't have any regret. And I don't regret not having children. I'm really comfortable with those 2 things, even though I'd always thought I wanted kids, and when I got pregnant, it just felt like it was not the right time or the right man or the right situation or anything. It just felt wrong, right? And that's a whole other deep topic that if you want me to talk about it, I will at some point, because I think that that's a really important conversation also around abortion and children. And women, men also, but women certainly have a lot of stuff around that, right? Oh, this is the point in the video where I check my hair and go, why didn't I check that when we first started? But so I'm sharing those 2 life items with you because they look like they could be huge life regrets, but they're not for me. Why? Because I did this massive amount of soul searching, and I was at choice around those items. When Mike and I got together a couple of years ago, I was in my early 40s, and no, going on mid 40s at that point, and we talked openly from like date number 5, I think, about children. And we're like, are we going to do it? Are we not going to do it? How could we do it? Hi, Rochelle. And it was a certain amount of soul searching and grappling that I had to do. I'm here at SUNY Purchase, and I'm trying to look good sitting on this stone wall. Pardon my vanity. It's hard, you know? It's like, I'm not jealous, honestly, of being around all these young people. They seem so young to me. Yeah, I'm like, looking at the other parents, I look like a parent, and I'm like, this is really interesting. I'm sort of playing the role of a parent here. I'm like, I just don't feel like a parent in my regular life. It's just very interesting, right? Identity and the roles that we play. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I think that sometimes there's a certain amount of soul searching and grappling that you can do that will resolve or dissolve some of your old regrets. I have not yet found a way to dissolve those 2 regrets that I just shared with you about not staying at Bard College for 4 years, but mainly about not finding a way to finance my being able to stay there and just giving in to defeat. And the same thing with going to Prague to film school. Like, I just gave in to the obstacles and to defeat, even though my soul was crying out with urgency for me to follow through on these things. So I don't know. Airplanes, I'm sorry about if it's too noisy. I'll keep you posted on this conversation if I do find a resolution to those 2 life regrets. But in terms of children and abortion, like I was saying, I've had 2 abortions and I don't regret them. There was a certain amount of healing and soul searching that I needed to do around those items, but they're resolved. I can check in constantly and just be like, nah, I'm good. Nah, I don't have a regret. That was a hard time. I don't have a regret. This older woman that I lived with when I lived in New Paltz for about 6 months, she was about 65 at the time, she said to me, she said, you know, when I was 23, I don't remember the story, she had a big regret. It wasn't a regret though, it was like a life moment that she didn't claim. And at 65, she says, you know, I don't regret not going for it at 23, but I feel badly for the girl that I was then who didn't get to have that experience. I thought that was wonderful. So there's probably these nuances and these stages, right, in terms of resolving your regrets. Can you kill them off? I don't think that that approach ever works. I think you could even kill a person who you hated and it wouldn't resolve anything for you. That said, after my dad died, I resolved a lot of the emotional shit that I had around him without him there in person. In fact, it was easier after he was gone. So just check in with yourself around rules, around regrets, and what's possible. And the final thing I want to say is, how do we stop from making more regrets? We tune into our souls. Like, you really need to listen to the voice of your soul. Just fucking listen to it. There are techniques. I'm going to be teaching. I have a new client. We've just had 2 sessions. And I'm like, all right, she's like, I just want to get more connected spiritually. So we came up with a morning ritual for her where she gets connected to her inner voice. And in our last call, I said, she was sounding a little like, this, that. I said, well, how do you make decisions? And how do you know that your decisions are soul-aligned decisions? And she was like, oh, that's a good question. And so we sent her back out into her life to ponder those questions and to keep getting interconnected. And I said, I'm going to teach you muscle testing. The police are here. I hope that's not for me. We're going to teach you muscle testing. I'm sorry, I'm like totally distracted right now because the police are here. It doesn't look like it's for me. Hey, Mary Alice. Let me reclaim myself here. You listen to your soul urgency. Guys, I'm totally distracted. What was I talking about? I'm gonna hide here, looking down on my phone. Okay, he's driving away. It wasn't for me. Wait. I'm not being arrested. What was I saying? That would have been exciting if I'd been getting arrested. I was talking about how you don't make any more soul regrets. Or you listen to the... Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. Rochelle says, don't worry about them. Yeah. Did I say police? Yeah, I said police. You can see me. Cool. Okay, so with this new client of mine, she's got this spiritual practice that we designed, like a ritual, morning ritual. She's calling it her late morning ritual. She's like, I don't want to get up early. I'm like, you don't have to. There's no rules. Listen to your inner muse, your soul, right? So she's working on getting connected to her inner voice, and I'm going to teach her a technique. It's called muscle testing. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you can get connected to a way to physically ask your intuition questions. It's crazy. It's so effective. And there's a few ways to do this, but I'm going to teach her some physical ways. She doesn't need any actual external tools to check in with her intuition. So you want to get connected to your intuition to hear the voice of your soul, and you need to start heeding it. All right, you need to start heeding it. And that's how you will not have any more regrets. And I actually suspect that we could actually get rid of some of our old regrets by revisiting them. Like, my boyfriend and I were talking about, should I go back to college for an advanced degree? Like, should I go take summer classes at Bard College? I drove a friend of mine up to Middlebury College in Vermont a few years ago. She was going to take a 6-week language course up there. It's this beautiful campus. And I thought, what if I went up there for the summer? Maybe I could get that sort of like Ivy League college experience out of my system, so I don't feel those regrets, so I'm not living from that place of regret anymore. So let's just think about that right now. Where do you have your regrets? Let's forget about killing them off. Let's see if it was just really a place where your soul told you to do something and you didn't follow through and you're mad at yourself. And how can you get connected to the voice of your soul and have the courage to follow through on what it's telling you to do now? And is there some way that you need to maybe revisit some of those old dreams? As Mike is always asked, he's like, can I get a do-over? Sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no. So maybe take a look at, is there something in those old dreams that you regret not having followed through on that you could follow through on now, 20, 25 years later? And let's see if maybe let's just put that to ourselves and let's see, we'll put it to the test and see if maybe that resolves us and those regrets. Hey, Ben. Again, I'm at SUNY Purchase, thinking about regrets, but I'm going to sign off now because my boyfriend is waiting for me now back at the truck. He finished dropping his son off and all his stuff off. And so I'm going to toast you with this Starbucks cold brew, and I'm going to caffeinate, and we're going to get back in the car and drive another 3 hours home. Lots of love to you guys. Ciao for now.